Yo, what is going on, you guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you part 2 to Prewriting Spider-Man No Way Home. But before we get into that, if you are new around here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and make sure to hit the bell next to the subscribe button to not miss any more content on the channel. And also, if you do end up liking this video, make sure to hit that like button. It would really help me out. And if you haven't seen part 1 yet, as always, make sure to go in the description down below and make sure to watch the part, then come back to this video. And then with that being said, let's get straight into this Prewriting Spider-Man No Way Home Part 2. We continue our story after the battle Peter had with Electro. We have a couple of scenes with Matt and supporting characters like MJ, Happy, Ned, and May, where they all tell him that he's stupid for going out there in the open like that. After the last scene that Peter had with MJ, we start to see a lot more tension between those characters, and MJ clearly isn't happy with Peter. They will all question him why couldn't he have left it to someone else, and Peter will say because it's his responsibility to. We have a scene where Peter discusses Uncle Ben with the rest of them and what it means to be Spider-Man. At this point in the movie, we will reflect on the events so far. This movie has had a lot going on and will certainly be one of the longest Spider-Man movies due to the amount that is going on in this movie. We will have the multiverse, Electro, Matt Murdock, the identity crisis, so it needs room to breathe. We'll have a couple of scenes where Peter will prepare for his trial. This will be one of the first times he would have been seen out in the public for a very, very long time. He hasn't even been in school, and that's how dangerous it's been for him. We will have another scene with Peter and Matt. They will discuss what's about to happen. Peter is almost certain that they're going to lose. How can they win in a court of law? Matt says not to worry and that he will find a way. We will cut to the court scene between Peter and Matt Murdock. This scene will be Peter pleading his case. They will be giving all of the evidence that he isn't Spider-Man. The judge will bring up the fact that Spider-Man was seen last night fighting some kind of electric being in the streets of New York, and he will get questioned at where he was. Matt will say that he was with Ned and MJ, and Peter will look at Matt like he's crazy because there is no evidence that he was with them. Then Matt will show the judge a security tape recorded by Happy where the date and the time had been altered, and it will show Peter with MJ and Ned, just like Matt Murdock said. You see, Happy is an expert in the field of security, so he has managed to make it so the tape doesn't look like it's been altered or edited either. The judge comes to a final decision after loads of build-up and evidence stacked against him and for him. After discussing all of the Mysterio drama, and the judge pleads Peter Parker not guilty of killing Mysterio. They have won. Peter Parker wins. The problem with the law being on Peter's back may now have been laid off him. However, that doesn't mean there is no consequence here. The outcome of this means people still believe he is Spider-Man, and this is where the propaganda against Spider-Man will become more prominent than ever, believing that Peter had cheated his way out and that he actually killed Mysterio and that he should be behind bars. We will see these posters everywhere supporting Mysterio and being against Spider-Man. Peter will confront Matt about what just happened, and we will get a scene about him asking him how he got that tape, and Matt will say that Happy gave it to him. Peter will say but he didn't want to lie about it, that could have gone horribly wrong, and Matt says that's why they didn't tell him their plan. Matt says that he doesn't like doing that either, but Peter's case is a specialty. Matt will say that he knows how important Peter is, and the city kind of takes Spider-Man for granted, especially now. He says if New York lost Spider-Man, they would all lose themselves. Matt says he can finally go home now. Peter says thank you, and Matt goes on his way. We then cut to a scene with Electro, and we get a few scenes where he is figuring out his powers and how to use them correctly. He starts sparking and lighting things up. After his battle with Spider-Man, Max is trying to use the powers that he has gained through going through the multiverse, through going through the portal to try and reopen the portal that got him there in the first place, but he can't seem to do it. We can see the anger and rage build up inside of Electro. He is stuck in this world with still no way home. This scene will contrast with the next Peter scene, almost paralleling the two, where Peter finds his way home, metaphorically speaking. He will return home to Aunt May, and we will have a nice scene where they reunite and everything, and they'll catch up. We will then get a couple of scenes where Peter goes into school for the first time, and he meets Ned, and everything is looking up for Peter. We get the handshake, we'll get the funny little jokes and quirks from Peter and Ned as well, and everything is really going well, until it doesn't. We start to get glimpses of the consequences of what happened, the consequences which I was talking about. People will start avoiding Peter in the hallways. Even Flash doesn't speak to him properly anymore. Someone in a crowd will call Peter a freak and he'll say that he's not Spider-Man, and we can start to see the toll that it's taking on Peter. Ned will tell him to ignore it until he bumps into MJ. Peter smiles and MJ just stands there blankly, with a tear in her eye. She walks off, leaving Peter stood there in silence. Ever since Peter got back to school, it has been looking on the up until it started having a decline. Everything that has just happened in those last couple of scenes will be just battering Peter back down to where he was before. Everyone believed that he was Spider-Man, and then he won in a court of law, so he thought that everything was going to go back to normal, until it didn't. Peter will ask Ned what's up with her, and Ned will say that she's just a bit worked up over everything that has been happening. Peter starts to feel as if even though he won, that the world is still against him, and that he can't do anything about it. A lot has changed. We cut back to Max as he's still trying to get his powers to work. He tries and tries and tries and nothing works. He eventually has a massive blow up and screams, emitting loads of energy and destroying his surroundings. We cut back to Peter as he sees us from afar as he leaves out the school gates with Ned. Ned tells him he's gotta go. He looks back at the school who have just frowned upon him for doing the very thing he's about to become. He thinks back to what Matt said, that if no one is there to stop the bad guys, the city would be a lot worse off without Spider-Man. He uses this as a push, and Peter swings into the direction of the explosion triumphantly in his classic red and black suit. Spider-Man lands. Electro is hunched over away from Spider-Man as we can hear the sirens in the background. Spider-Man shouts, "Hey!" Electro turns around and grits his teeth, and through his anger says, "You," in a really stern voice. Spider-Man says that he just wants to help him, and Electro will say that he's done a lot more than help him, alright, and blasts Spider-Man across the street. Peter struggles to get up as he grunts. They battle it out as Electro becomes increasingly stronger. Peter is trying his hardest to stop him. Electro becomes more angry and more hateful as he's fueled by the energy and the power coursing through his veins. Peter says that he can't use his powers like that. Someone is going to get hurt, and Electro says that he will find a way home, if that means blowing up the entire city in the process. Peter will sarcastically comment saying, "Wow, that's great," and then they will carry on battling it out. But Peter can't find a way to get to Electro. Electro is too powerful and his electricity is an easy way to keep Peter at a distance. Electro escapes once more, but the race is on now. As he lies on the ground in a ripped up and burnt costume, Peter must figure out a way to stop Electro before it's too late. Thank you for watching part 2 to my Spider-Man No Way Home pre-write. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and make sure to hit that subscribe button if you are new, and make sure to hit the bell next to the subscribe button to not miss the third and final part when it releases. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.